This week on Hermitcraft.
Seriously?
GG.
No, comedically, Cleo.
Yes.
Welcome to the Hermitcraft Recap. My name is PixelRiffs, our writer is LoyXP, and between Cubfan's Parkour Challenge and ZF's Golf Course, Hermitcraft is quickly becoming all the most underrated games in Wii Sports Resort. All the meanwhile, ImpulseSV and Grian introduce what can only be described as a first-person rail shopper. We'll see how these minigames will disrupt the natural flow of the server, and, after a pause for all the comments to point out that Barge Sweep is not a minigame, let's take a look at all the events and mishaps that occurred on the Hermitcraft server this week. Starting with getting over it with Cubfan135, or rather the people accumulating fall damage in it. False Symmetry gives the course a go and mercifully time-lapses her run of the first two lanes, not helped by the fact that she started with the harder difficulty jungle course, even if that meant she just blazed through the easier part in no time afterwards.
Moderate? I was not moderate, but I will take jungle parkour right now. Because I deserve that going through whatever nonsense that was. But other than that, we pretty much sped to the end.
This at least proved a good break in between working on the glowy alien terrain of her Cybertown and equipping the other side of the conflict, the futuristic city, with skeleton horse cavalry.
And basically these guys are going to go, oh my goodness, there's a giant mech. And then, you know, they're going to come out here, get on their horses, and then go attack. Like, I don't think horses or drones are really gonna cut it.
XB Crafted's barn has more skin on its bones, although technically less animal content right now. While he's still feeling the building mojo, he considers picking up a plot in Aquatown, but is put off by the amount of pig poop creeping in from the lots next door.
Leavings. How do you put that in a nice way? The things that the pigs are leaving behind.
Bdouble turns out to soften the deal, which ends up with Bdouble accepting a 100% stake in the Red Zone shop, potentially increasing his pile of diamonds beyond just real estate takings. XB is next up to take on Cub's parkour courses, although he brings Keralis along for the ride, which adds the advantage of camaraderie and encouragement, but adds an extra obstacle in the form of player collision.
Okay, and how about now, though?
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Since they wanted a friendly competition, but neither of them can really win the parkour more than the other, they offer their viewers a chance to decide on a game to break the tie. Luckily, Cub has just the thing. Pleased with his doing, Cubfan develops a more direct way of dunking on his server mates. Revisiting the Dunk Tank Duel minigame he made a while ago, Cub decides to add more gameplay to it, with the added bonus of being able to see your opponent as they fall. This time you'll be required to skip a snowball across a few bubble columns and light up 3 of the targets to feed a rendog to an illager.
Oh, you're in so much trouble. I figured out the perfect line. No, you haven't got one. Don't say that. Oh, hold on. Got him! Got him! Oh no, you got me too! What the heck?
The Hermits have had all kinds of target practice lately, as we see in VintageBeef's episode, which is a mostly uncut round of ZF's golf minigame alongside Joe Hills, iJevin, Cubfan, Zombie Cleo, and ZF himself, in which we learn that bringing your own clubs is fine, as long as you don't set fire to the equipment. And while volcanoes on the course can be advantageous, chickens are definitely a hazard. Also, something professional Minecrafters.
Oh no, that's
Oh no, what is happening? There's an ender pearl.
There's an ender pearl.
Get out of here.
Oh no.
Yes! This has been more successful than I ever could have imagined.
This is cheating.
Play it
This
where
is
it lies,
just
Cleo.
cheating.
Play it where it lies.
With the chicken menace still at large, ZF needs to do something about the chicken run machine Grian left him, as it is leaking eggs left and right. But not in the mood for some pie, he went for a more natural solution and employed a fox to hunt down whatever poultry is roaming around.
Berries too. Fingers crossed now, Jerry, you will stay here and you will be a little bit more reserved. I don't know the true inner workings of a fox, but it's kind of a contraption. I'm calling it a contraption. I think it's good.
The exploitation of animals continues through another contraption, the Zero-G Pig Redux, this time with a seamless lead. Though the pig wobbling at wall does make it look a bit more like a spider pig than a bird one. It's moments such as these that are worth remembering, and to make sure he never forgets, ZF repurposes the minecart X-ray machine he's been using as a storage unit into something more akin to a digital picture frame, but mostly because it didn't work as a storage unit that well. Storage is expanding over at ImpulseSV's Ice Fortress, since now the floor has gone in, he can start putting holes in the walls. Recessed rows of chests now act as bulk storage for his latest farm projects, one for basalt and another for snow. Impulse also gives us an update on the big barge sweep shopping experience, riding the rails to give us a demonstration of quite how sophisticated the setup is. It's basically Pokemon Snap, but for shulker boxes instead of a surfing Pikachu.
Right when the little twinkle happens, I'm up in the sky. That is perfect.
The update is that the thing is pretty much finished. Grian filled in his part of the course as much as he could with in-jokes, references, and miniature versions of past and present builds he's done on Hermitcraft, some of which you won't get a chance of visiting until you hunt down a secret switch derailing your cart into Barge Sweep's equivalent of a Super Mario Warp Zone.
This one here, so if you right-click this, it changes the track long enough for you to go down this route here. Now,
and if you put a boat into the minecart, it can double as a love tunnel. Still, his dealings under the surface of Aquay Town won't uproot the local economy nearly as much as him winning all the realty auctions he bet on. Luckily, he was too fussy to try buying Scar's ones. With Bdouble's auctions complete, he hands over one plot to XB Crafted and the rest to Grian, except for one which received no bids whatsoever. Despite owning the plot by default, he still aims to sell it at some point because, even after adding all those diamond blocks to the pile, he's still not too far ahead of Scar.
All right, so it looks like I won this land right here, and then Grian won pretty much everything else except for that one that...
Perhaps profits at the red zone can swing it for him at the last second, but in case he's made bankrupt by the whole venture, he works on his retirement property, heading back to his idyllic country town and working on houses with darker materials in preparation for the 117 block palette.
I do think these colors, they do work. I think that actually works with like the dark.
After a haggle with Etho yields no results, Keralis gives up his runway plans for the time being and settles for a boat as his vehicle of the day.
Have I said that you might be my favorite Canadian, like ever?
More than beef?
Thankfully, the fishing vessel he builds doesn't take long to bring in a profit. They net a Keralis right away. And with his affinity for waterside properties, it would be weird if Keralis didn't contribute to the Aquay Town. And seeing how by this point it's basically Shopping District 2.0, it's only fair it got a looky at my bookie 2.0 as well.
I took some help of the amazing 999 Dan on the World of Keralis server.
Oh, that's fantastic. Whoever did that, this is really cool. And are those cake banners?
The super library fits in so well with the overall vibe of Aquay that Good Times with Scar uses its palette as inspiration for his next build. Removing a park area in between the auction spots, Scar raises what will soon be a free stuff store, a shopping centre giving away whatever building materials Scar has laying around in his chest monsters, filtered or not. The pigsties do obstruct the commerce a little bit after all, but Scar has a convenient Bdouble IOU stashed away and is not afraid to use it.
It will be cleared out. Bdubs owes me an IOU, and I'm going to give him wooden shovels to clear this all out.
And that's about it for this week's recap. Our writer is LoyXP, and my name is PixelRiffs. In this week's End Screen Theatre, I dive into the latest snapshots, find a metric ton of copper, and explain why that isn't actually a bad thing. Don't forget to leave a like while you're still here, and subscribe so you won't miss future recaps. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.